Condo, corner where we rise and grow. Twist and turn, let the passion flow. Condo, corner watch the future shine. Every scale a story, one of a kind.
From the shadows we move, striking out bright. In every twist we find the light. Breeding the best, gotta have patience in this game. Chondro Corner, where we make our name. Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner. Chondro Corner, where we rise and grow. Twist and turn, let the passion flow. Chondro Corner, watch the future shine. Every scale a story, one of a kind.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to the 30th episode of Chondro Corner on the Herp Collectors Network. Tonight, we're going to just go ahead and skip right to bringing Jeremy on from Brassman Reptiles.
Hey, what's going on?
Not much. So thank you for coming on, first
Absolutely.
and foremost.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. So what got you into Amazons? Did you start with Amazons, kind of lead gateway into Amazons? What was the...
Man, so I definitely did not start with Amazon. So I was the ball python nerd. But no, I got my first pair of Amazons when I was in my early teens, maybe like 14 years old. And I had no idea what I was doing. I was like, these tree snakes are cool, like, let's check these out. And then followed by immediate bleeding and, like, what the heck is happening to my life? Where's my corn snake? Like, please help me out. But yeah, so I think I had at one point I had four. I had a couple of garden phase animals and then like a bicolor and then another like a reddish garden or something like that. And I thought they were the coolest snakes, but I hated being bitten. Like, I hate being bitten by snakes. Like, if it happens, whatever. But I really try to avoid it at all costs. And I got Amazons, and it's all, imports and all of that stuff, that's like, people are bad. So I'm saying that meanwhile, I have a couple of young Ruschenbergeri literally right over here that are like, ding, 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 ding. But yeah, and I had no idea about breeding boas or what that nuance looked like at the time. I was breeding colubrids and leopard geckos and stuff like that. So boas were definitely like a next level thing that I was not prepared for. So ended up selling those animals at some point, and it wasn't until about maybe 7 or 8 years ago now. I was at Northeast Carpet Fest right before I started working at Nerd, and Keith McPeak had brought one of his captive bred babies to be auctioned off. They were doing like a little USARK benefit auction, and the Amazon was there, and I was like, man, you know what? I kind of miss those. Like, those were cool snakes. So I bid on it and won it, and it was surprisingly very docile. And I was like, okay, this is different. Like, I'm not going back into traumatic, oh my God, why? Like, this is a terrible situation. And that kind of sparked everything kind of back for me. I was like, man, this thing's so tame. And I've never seen one that was quite so weirdly orange. It was very unique. And so I started researching them more, and then started seeing the true reds and red calicos and the clean bicolors and stuff that I had no idea existed. And I was like, whoa, like, what's going on? And then to also see that even all this time later, we still don't really know everything genetically that's going on and how everything transfers. And I was like, whoa, like, this is really cool. And partly, shortly after that, going to Nerd, and I worked as the facility manager. So I worked very closely with Kevin, and Kevin is really bad at checking his phone sometimes. So when he would have import friends try to reach out to him and couldn't get a hold of him, they would reach out to me and be like, hey, we're trying to get a hold of Kevin, whatever. Can you tell him to look at his phone, please? And eventually, those people find me on social media because they start seeing me more frequently in videos and whatever. And then they would hit me up and be like, hey, you like South American, tree boas? Well, check this weird thing out. Do you want this? of course I'm like, aha, I do want that. That's pretty, like,
Yeah, send it this way, not that way.
yeah, exactly. Kevin doesn't like Amazons. I like Amazons. So, so I started to dabble, and I didn't know that I was going to go hog wild into breeding them. I was just kind of like falling back in love with the species and keeping them and taking the time to understand the nuances of keeping them that I was too young to understand when I was in my teens. And that's really what got me to fall back in love with them. Like, I kept some in racks, I kept some in cages, and was just kind of like toying around with different ideas. And shortly after I moved down to North Carolina, that's when we noticed, the massive downfall of ball python prices and the market and kind of where it's sitting at now. And I was like, man, like, this is frustrating. Of course, I still love hatching ball pythons. I think ball pythons are wonderful snakes. I love them. They make great pets. But I was like, business wise, like, I've never been the person to chase, and constantly date my inventory and bring in new mutations and spend, tens of thousands of dollars on the next hot project. I was never that guy, and I was like, I'm not going to become that guy,
Yeah.
And I started finding myself like really just enjoying doing stuff with the Amazons and starting to get more people sending me pictures and checking out some of the Facebook groups and looking at what people are producing and some of the insane stuff that people were popping out. And I was like, I want to explore this more, like I really do. And I made the decision maybe about 2 years ago now to pivot Brassman Reptiles to actually focus on Amazon tree boas. So I downsized ball python wise. When I moved out here, I had about 250 ball pythons, and I downsized that. Now I've got about 50. And after this season, I'll have about a dozen. And I was that guy. And so with that, I also downsized on carpet pythons. I had probably close to 40 carpet pythons. I downsized that significantly. I got totally out of blood pythons. I reduced basically everything, and I was like, I think I really just want to dial in on Amazons. I've really enjoyed keeping them, and I really want to explore what's possible. And then I got the call about Carnage, which was that crazy calico. Yes. And I remember getting that message and was like, hey man, what do you think an all white calico or a 90+% white calico Amazon tree boa should go for? And I was like, I don't know, but I want to fucking see a picture of it, man. Like, I got a picture and I was like, all right, let's talk numbers. Like, what do we need to do? And that, I think that was what lit the fire under my butt to really just kind of dial in with these guys. And then producing that first litter and just seeing red calico tiger babies, I was like, this is it, man. Like, this is what I need to be doing. I had never been so geeked out about producing anything ever before. Outside of maybe like the first time I ever hatched a reptile in general, like that's
it's just a different excitement.
Yeah. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like the video that I posted on YouTube of like pulling the Carnage babies, I filmed that very, very much raw. Like, I spent an hour and a half basically like skipping in circles around my reptile room because I was so happy. And I was like calling people on the phone. I was like calling Rob. I was like calling my partner. I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. Red things in the cage. Like, I was losing my mind. And I filmed that video, and I was trying to like tame myself down because I'm like, I'm going to go. Like, people are going to think I'm on crack or something.
You should have just moonwalked right through the room and threw that up on YouTube.
Literally is what would have freaking happened. Just would have like been like, hey guys, we got baby Amazons, and I'm really happy about it right now. It was so Mike, I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. I was losing my
He was boogieing down, skipping.
I was. I put on like Michael Jackson, Do You Remember the Time? And just was like, doom, 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 doom. just like losing my friggin' mind. But like I had never felt that before, and that for me was when I knew, okay, I got to do this. Like I have to do this, and anybody who's known me for a long period of time knows that like I love everything reptile, even the species that I'm not super elated about all the time. Like it's still reptiles, so I think it's awesome.
The ones that you don't post as often.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, we posted a water snake for the first time in 1,000 posts. Maybe there's something cool happening, like. But I was really just like, oh my god, and that was when I was like, okay, we're gonna change things up here, and I couldn't see myself getting rid of everything and just having Amazon tree boas because mentally I probably couldn't handle that. But I was like, no, I can keep a couple of projects that I like just because I do like a bunch of different reptiles, but I gotta dial in these Amazons, man. Like I just absolutely freaking love it. And that's my long-winded answer of why Amazons and what happened with that. But yeah.
I think that's a lot of our, like, because for me, I've like literally cut my ball python collection in half.
Mm-hmm.
But I started to kind of weigh keeping them because I was into the green trees. And then I was like, well, if I'm going to get another species, that's kind of, somewhat the same keeping, not quite, but, same parameters more or less.
Yeah.
Then I was like, so I picked up a wild caught Amazon and it bit me 15 times within 10 minutes of holding it for the first time.
Yep, exactly.
And I was like, yeah, this is what I want. I want something that's going to bite me all the time.
Done.
But it's the same thing. There's just an excitement, even with the babies, of opening the drawers and like
100%.
Like I don't think there's another thing that compares to it, honestly.
I 100% agree though. I there's something special about it. And I mean, like even like I've bred BCI, I've bred I've bred carpets for years, and those things were like exciting for me, but yeah, I was never skipping around a reptile room. like it was a very I think I messaged like I don't know, maybe 50 people about just having just because I was so freaking excited that I've never done that before, like ever. I posted on every one of my social platforms, even that had nothing to do with reptiles. I'm like, look at this thing.
You're gonna get it.
Yeah, and people are like, what the hell why? We don't care about this. Like I posted on like my musician pages and stuff, and they're like, that's not a fucking trumpet. Like what the like what the hell is going on?
You just gotta sing next time you post it. Sing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it really was just something really different for me, and which also sounds interesting or bizarre. Like if you talk to like when I brought that one Carnage baby to Brian Barczyk before he passed, he was telling me about, we used to breed these things and they were like $15 and blah blah blah, and I was like, oh my god. Like that seems like so far-fetched to me because like there's so little known and understood about them. Like, what do you mean they were bred before? Like everything still seems so new, as if this is like something brand new to the industry.
But do you think that's why the price point was so low for so long, was because they are still so unknown?
100%. And I think it's also because like they're still so commonly imported. So prices, it's hard to command a specific value point when the 99% majority at the time are imports and they're being put on somebody's table for $10 or $20, and you're like, oh cool, I bred it, but it's might not necessarily be that special. I can't imagine that the first person breeding Amazons in the US is like, here's a red calico tiger for $20. They're like, I made this garden, or it's a cool yellow, and but it gets lost in the imported stuff. So I just think it wasn't until somebody really took the time to figure out like, Now these things can actually look really cool, and even though imports still tend to do pretty well in comparison to the other Corallus species, um, there's no real value on the captive bred animal just
Yeah.
yet. Whereas I think now where you're seeing captive bred gardens at $200, $300, $400, even the importers are raising their eyebrows like, wait, why? This is $50, like, I don't understand. But I think now people are starting to understand the value of captive breeding these animals, and when you don't have to deal with potential risks with imports, like, then you can actually have a really great experience with them.
Yeah. I think what draws people to now is all the amazing animals that are being produced and posted. And like, I picked up a red calico female from Vinny. She'll be here next week now because, the boob front that's jammed up weather this week.
Yep.
But I posted her just on my personal page, and people were like, holy cow, like, what in the world is that?
Yeah, and Vinny produced some screamers for sure.
Oh my God. I don't even know how he lets them go, honestly, because I would be a hoarder. Like,
yep, 100%.
I would post them all day long and have plenty of social media content, and every single one of them would say NFS.
Yeah, exactly. When I started letting go some of the Carnage babies, people were hitting me up like, why the hell would you get rid of these? And I was like, they're all males. Like, sure, I still could have kept them and utilized them and whatever, but I was like, they're all males, and I would rather them go to some places that have some more established blood. I can work out some trade deals, get some other captive bred animals here, trade some stuff out and bolster what I was already trying to accomplish. And the one female is the one that went to Brian, because he was literally the first person that messaged me after I posted the first post on Instagram. He was like, if you have a female, I need it. And I was like, I had known Brian since 2009. So I was like, I got you, man. Cause there's never been anything I've made that you've said you've wanted. So, I'm like, you went out of your way to shoot me this text. I got you, bro.
And I'm saving this text forever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, I agree. I think now that we're seeing the insanity of what's possible with these animals, you've got, the guys like Rory Gresco and Noah Ingram, and certainly like Randy and Vinny that are taking the time to really dial in projects, and now we're really seeing what's possible.
Yeah.
I just got a bicolor tiger from Vinny, and I'm like, this animal is so clean, so perfect. Like, this is a testament to what, these animals originated from like Rory and everything, but it's a testament to pairing the right animals together and dealing with lineage that has a history, and is not just like, oh, well, dad was an import and I don't know what the hell's going on. It's like, no, like, we can trace this back a while, and
generations of working that line and that phenotype.
Exactly. So I think that is 100% why we're starting to see the attention kind of come over to them, and that's even more exciting. Because it's like, well, how does this work? I don't know.
Nobody
can't tell you.
Give you a straight answer.
Yeah. And the other thing that I have found interesting too is there's a lot of people that are getting into Amazons specifically because they just want to set up a cool enclosure. Because Amazons are going to use every corner of an enclosure you put them in. Yeah. It's not an emerald that's just going to perch and sit there. Like, it's going to use that cork flat up at the top, and it's going to use a hide box down below, and it's going to climb and do all this stuff. So there's people that have told me like, yeah, I just got this, 3 by 18 by 3 cage, and like, we're going to deck it out and do all this stuff. And like, I can't wait to just get like a red, bright red Amazon and put it in there. And like, that's going to be like the centerpiece in the living room. And I'm like,
you're not going to see it except for in the morning when you walk out. If
right,
you walk out early enough.
They don't care. but they don't care. They're just like, I want to be able to, even if it's like, I want to pull that out. I'll risk getting bitten. I want to pull that out and then just let it climb. Like I'm totally going to disturb you because I want to see how awesome you are. I love that. I love that. Like, leave the snake alone. Like, let the snake live, you know, but like the fact that you're that excited about having a snake just for the sake of having it. Like, I went on a tangent with Adam from the Expert and the Idiot podcast about how we've like bastardized ball pythons because we focus so much on the breeding aspect and like, you know, $10,000 snake and this rare blah blah blah, and people get into it and not everybody, of course, but people get into it and they largely focus on the dollar signs. And you see them come in hard and fast, and then they're gone within a season or two because they didn't understand the expenses. They didn't understand the upkeep. They didn't understand that the live animal business doesn't scale the same way that a dry good business would. And then that's it. And then they're turned off by reptiles like altogether. We hadn't showcased, hey, yeah, I mean, you could go spend $10,000 on this crazy cool thing, or you could spend $500 on this coral glow clown that used to once cost $100,000 and put it in a cage, and like you're gonna see it like roaming around, and like that's cool, you know, like that's something cool to check out. We never showcased ball pythons that way ever on a large scale, but people are looking at Amazons that way, and that is probably the most exciting thing. The attention is not on breeding, it's just on this is a cool snake.
How it looks. I mean, I decked out a couple of my enclosures, so there's like multi-tiers, and I have like a stump in the middle. I have one with a stump in the middle. I don't ever see that snake. You know when I see that snake? When I dangle a quail.
Yeah, exactly.
When I have that quail by the feeder tongs dangling by its neck, that's when I see that snake. That's
100%.
That's the only time I see it.
100%. I have,
okay. You know, and occasionally it'll be sitting out on one of the branches if I'm lucky, but it's like, oh, hey, here, you know, there you are. It's like, I don't want it here. You think I ever see it?
No.
Once in a blue moon, it'll be wrapped around the little plant in the corner, kind of hanging down, looking like, what's up? You gonna feed me? Where's my quail? You know, like,
where's my food? I'm hungry. I'm starving over here.
She's gone. Like,
100%. I have the corrugated tubes that I use as elevated hides, and like they're in there, and I can see them because it's elevated and it's whatever, but they're always in like the back of that tube. So I'm just like, oh, cool. There's a figure in the back of that.
Waiting for you to stick some food in there.
Exactly. Waiting for me to poke it and make it mad, or put a mouse or a quail or something in front of it.
Or reach in there just right to where it thinks it's dinner time, you know?
Wham! Yeah. Perfect.
But they're still so pretty, you know, when see them out. It's something to appreciate. So
100%. I love, so I've got like all my enclosures that have lights and everything, like they're on timers. So like that first 20 minutes after the lights go out, that's not like, I'll grab like a headlamp and I'll just go through and look, and they're all starting to come out, and then you shine the light in that cage and they're like, what? And they freeze,
with
but
their
they're
big
like
old bug eyes.
Exactly. And you're like, I'm sorry, go back to moving. It's just, I just want to see this real quick.
Like, I just want to take 5 minutes to see you in your natural environment here in your little mini forest.
Exactly.
They do crack me up though, with like, especially the babies with their like super skinny necks and their big head and those big old bug eyes, and they're like kind of derpy and floppy sometimes. Like they go to strike the food and they're like, you know?
Yeah, 100%. My favorite thing was when I first started keeping them in cages with radiant heat panels. You go to put them back in the enclosure and they're like heat signature and striking at the heat panel. And you're like, bro, you live here. Like, this should be a familiar scent. There's no food. Heat signature must die. Like, you're like, calm down, bro. Calm down.
It's fun though. I have fun with them. And then like, I think part of what is bringing more people into is they're seeing more people handle them. Because that's been a big stigma of when I started telling people I was getting into them was, oh my God, they're just bitey. They're going to bite you all the time. Da, 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 da. I mean, my import is going to nail the shit out of me as much as it can get the opportunity to nail me.
Yeah.
But for the most part, the rest of them, it's just a matter of handling them. So I even had a few people over the other day that were snake people, and I went and pulled one out and was sitting there letting it just kind of like,
do its thing.
And they're like, oh, it's going to bite you. And I sat there for 30 minutes and nothing. So I think that's starting to draw more people in too, as they're starting to see, oh, we can actually handle this species. It's just being calm, confident, patient, that type of thing. And then you 100%. Post videos, and Vinny posts videos, and, you know, there's a plethora of people that are showing that they're handleable now.
100%. 100%. Yeah, I think that has been one of the biggest things for sure. Like when I was really getting into like the blood and short tail stuff, like that was exactly the same thing. Like, oh, you can't handle, like it's gonna be this big fat thing. It just wants to be lazy, and you're gonna pick it up, and then it's gonna lose its mind, and you're gonna get bit, and it's really gonna suck. And I'm like, I mean, or not. Like there's also another option that is not getting bitten. You know, you just have to understand. You have to understand the animal, and like. It's interesting because you talk to reptile people and they're all about, oh, I love my snake and I want to tell everybody that snakes are good and blah, blah, blah. But you show them an Amazon or an emerald or something, they're like, mean, bitey, evil, you know, and same thing with the bloods and short tails. And it's like, no, man, you have to take the time to understand the species quirks and stuff, you know, like, I remember talking to a couple at a reptile show, and they were really interested in blood pythons, but they heard all the rumors, they heard all the stigmas, and I was like, I had a couple that were decent and fairly tolerant of handling, and I was like, you know, I'll take one out that you can handle on one condition: you need to pay attention to its body language. And they're like, well, what do you mean? What do you mean? And I'm like, well, number one, you need to support it because this animal is heavy. And I'm like, I'm sure you know somebody that is maybe a little larger who doesn't feel like they're, you know, sitting correctly and comfortable, and they keep trying to do this. Well, a blood python's going to do the same thing, but it can't yell or verbalize anger. It's going to lose its mind and flip and bite you and whatever. So I'm like, watch the head of this animal. When you see the tongue stop flicking and you see just the tip of the tongue sticking out stationary, put the snake down. And they're like, why? And I'm like, because you have about 20 seconds before that thing absolutely loses its mind. And that's the key. And so they're handling it, no problem. It gets to that point. They see the tongue stick out like that, and they're like, oh, okay. And they put it down, and it lost its mind as soon as it touched the ground. And I put it right back in after it got all its yah-yahs out, and right back in the thing. No problem. Nobody got bit. Nobody lost any blood. The Amazons were the same way. The last All-American Reptile and Plant Show that just came to Charlotte, I took out Amazons probably like 24 times. And both the animals I had on the table, actually all three that I had on the table, were imports. Just long-term captive imports, but nobody got bit. I think one person got struck at because they moved really fast.
Yeah, you can't
do that. But like nobody got bit. And they're all just like, I can't believe I'm handling this thing right now. And I'm like, it's magic. Like,
yeah, as long as nobody else comes running up along the side, be like, hey, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, snake! Woo! You know, mind lost. Every bit of trust with that animal's broken. But
I have to tell my kids sometimes because I'll be holding some of the babies and they'll come running up, and I'm like, can you like not?
Yeah. Hey, how about you don't?
Like, let's not come running up on us, you know?
Right. Exactly. Hey, do you want to bleed today? No? Cool. I suggest you slow it down. Thanks. Yeah.
So like the import, when it bit me though, it was like, it would do like this head rub, like a cat, like nuzzles. So it was like chill, and it would be like, oh, I'm going to do this head rub. I'm like, what the heck are you doing? It just like turned and was like, womp.
Yep.
But then it comes back for 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. You know? And you're like, what?
Yeah, because now you're like, why? And you're like losing your mind, and now you're erratic and angry. And the snake is like, haha, I knew it. Well, you're mean.
because I wasn't like, I part of my problem is I have nerve damage in my hands too, so I wasn't feeling it bite. I was just seeing it bite, and then I'm watching the blood leak out of my hands, and I'm like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah. Why? Yeah.
And I was at a show when it was doing
man.
it too, so I'm sure people were walking by and they're like, she's just standing there looking at it with her hands dripping. You
Yeah.
know? I'm like, oh, it's good. All's
It's
good.
fine. It's fine. Pay no
We're
attention to
bonding.
this. Yeah. We're blood brothers now.
Yeah.
This is great. It's great. It's what we wanted. It's what we wanted.
So with Carnage, was that your first pairing that you did? Was with Carnage, or did you do some others?
Yeah,
previously?
so that year I produced 2 litters. The Carnage litter was the first one that dropped, and then I had another one that dropped maybe like about a month later, because they were born while I was away at Tinley. But yeah, I missed it. Yeah, luckily I had my buddy Lenny. I was like, hey, this girl's probably gonna drop while I'm away. Like, just if you can go down and check, like, that'd be great. And I think it was like Saturday morning, I got a video message from him, and he's like, hey, bro, you got some babies. And I'm like, cool. And he's like, and one really angry mom, and he turns the camera and she like launches out of the corrugated tube. And I was like, oof. Watch your face, and just grab those babies for me.
Put on your armor.
Yeah, exactly.
Get those babies.
Yeah. But yeah, and then produced we do 1 or 2 litters last year. And then this year I've got at least 3 litters. Hopefully potential for up to 6 litters this year, but some females are moving kind of slow.
What kind of projects are we working this year?
So this year, nothing super crazy. We'll have I did a leopard to a Halloween tiger.
Okay.
So we'll do some tiger hets. That'll be fun. I also did a garden tiger just to a garden. Because there were a lot of people the last year that were like, do you have like garden stuff? Like, what do you do anything with garden stuff? I was like, all right, let's satisfy that niche
like
a little bit.
Darker stuff, like the xanthic looking stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And then I have red calico going to a bicolor het calico. I don't 100% subscribe to red calico being recessive, but so I always air quote it. Yeah, time will tell. Well, you know what threw it off for me was the Carnage litter, because it was red calico animal bred to a yellow tiger, and every baby was red calico. And I'm like, either I got amazing odds and like I'm the luckiest guy ever, or there's something else going on. So I just want to see more. Before I 100% subscribe to what most people are subscribing to, especially when we're still getting imported red calico animals in.
Yeah.
So there's always a potential for another line that's not the same, that could be incomplete dominant or something. We just don't know.
I don't know. She, I don't freaking know at this point. But it's a red het calico, but it literally is like got this black patterning all the way from the head all the way to the tail. And I'm like Randy's like, no, it's a het calico. That's just the kind of the influence of it, I guess. But I'm like,
yeah, I just don't know. I
if
just
that's
don't
het,
know.
Like, shit, I'll buy hets all damn day long.
Yeah, right, exactly. Like, that's still a cool freaking snake.
I'll cut my price point in half, you know?
Yeah. Exactly.
Sign me up.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I mean, even like talking with Vinny, you know, like the bicolor tiger litter yielded some red calico animals. It yielded some red animals that were black that will probably be calico at some point. You know, the white scales will start to come in. So it's just, there's so much variation. So just like trying to understand everything is really intriguing to me. And because the variation can be so extreme, you know, like I look at an animal like Carnage, and see how those few babies are developing, and like they're all uniquely different. They're all high white animals, but they're all uniquely different. I'm like, man, if I didn't know the pairing, these would be wild.
Yeah.
Like absolutely insane. And then you've got some calicos that look amazing in red and white as babies, and then they are like black, or gray as adults, and you're just like, how do we get here? Like I don't understand that. But yeah, so that's something I'm intrigued by. I've also got this is a new development. I haven't shared this anywhere, so this will be the exclusive for this podcast. The people have seen the patternless garden animal that I've got here. That animal I paired to a young red calico-ish female that started producing follicles out of nowhere, and they have locked multiple times. So I'm very excited about that.
Let's see what that does.
Those babies aren't going anywhere. Sorry, guys. But I am very excited about that. And
there's a few of us that'll still slide in your DMs and be like, listen.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I welcome it. I will laugh so hard. But
listen, if you change your mind.
Yeah, right. Exact. Hey, look, I'm that guy
send
too.
You the money.
I'm that guy too. It's just like, hey man, I know you're keeping that, but like,
you don't even have to tell me to send it friends and family. I got you. I'll send it to you, friends and family. Cash app it to you.
I got what's your Zelle, bro? What's your Zelle?
What's your phone number? I'm sending it to
direct. Direct, bro. Western Union, whatever you need. I'll get a fucking pigeon to send you this money. Like, let's go. But yeah, so I'm excited about that. Of course, breeding boas, never hold your breath because you never know what's going to happen. Yeah. There's always the potential for stillborns and stuff. Like at the beginning of the year, I produced a litter of leopards from a leopard to leopard pairing, and it was a small litter, 2 live babies and 2 stillborns, and you're just like, yeah, damn, man, like that just sucks. But it's just, unfortunately, it's just part of the game. So I don't count my babies before they're on the ground. But I'm very excited about that. And then moving forward, I think going into 2026, I'll have probably about a dozen females that are ready to breed, not including the girls that are breeding this year. So we've got a lot of Amazons.
You're about to drown in the Amazons.
Yeah. Well, and so my thing is like, because now like I'm in it, like I've committed, like this is where I'm pivoting my business to, my goal by the end of this year, really, is to have about 75 Amazons, 25 males and 50 females. And the reason, because everyone's like, that's such a huge number. But the reason is, a lot of times Amazons don't do well when you pair one male to multiple females. If it's a bigger male, you can sometimes get away with 2 girls or so, but you don't want to push them too much. I don't want to stress out my males. So my goal is to be able to do 1-to-1 every year, but not sacrifice the amount of potential production. So 25 girls every year. There'll be an A group and a B group. This way, if a girl goes one year, I'm not pushing her to go back to back. She can take a year off, so it sounds wild, but there's a method. I promise.
Sense,
yeah, I promise. There's a method to the madness. Those numbers may change. They may get larger. They probably won't get smaller, but they might get larger. But
so Jeremy's moving out more ball pythons, folks, so he can move some more Amazons in.
No, 100. That's 100% accurate. That is 100% accurate. I'll be going from 50 ball pythons to 12 after this season. That's literally it. And the only reason I'm keeping 12 is because I do have a market for ball pythons. I have a clientele that come to me for certain ball pythons. So I have about a dozen or so that are going to a friend of mine on a breeder loan project. And it's like, hey man, this will help your stuff. So you breed it. We'll split clutches. That's fine. It's an arrangement I've done with him for years, with his animals. So we're just kind of flip-flopping that project. And then I've got about a dozen that I'm going to keep for my own production, and the rest of them are getting sold. Even the rack that I bought 2 years ago, brand new from ARS.
Too.
Yep, gone.
Racks, incubators. I'm like, as stuff moves,
yep,
going with them.
yep, absolutely. And I've had a handful of messages from people that are like, dude, you're out of your fucking mind. And I'm like, I don't care. I don't care.
You gotta go where the passion is and what lights the fire for you.
100%.
Like, to me, honestly, like the ball pythons are almost more upkeep than these guys all are. Truthfully,
100%. The overhead is larger and all of that stuff.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. Like I'm like you. I'm gonna have a small project most likely that I'll stick with, but it just doesn't excite me the same way these guys excite me.
100%. 100%. And that's the thing. So I've got some quad het True Ghost DG clowns I'm holding on to. I'm working on like some candy puzzle double hets. It's an ARS 5540. Mike, you want it? You want it? Huh? And then I forgot what the other project. Oh, some other axanthic clown stuff.
Randy's in the house.
Hey, what's up, dude? And that's my little tight knit project. Because that's what I like, and I'm, I want to work with stuff that I like, but also makes sense. Like I run a business, I'm 100% self-employed between music and reptiles. So I do need to pay attention to numbers a bit. So producing pastel het clowns is not valuable to me. If you happen to message me when it's available, I won't be upset. I got you, bro. I will literally go downstairs and put my Sharpie to that rack and put your name on it, sir. So, and there could be a ball python or two that goes with it when you take it.
You can pick it up this weekend. No.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, like my so I have like a pastel butter and she hypo DG female that's gravid right now. I bred her to an axanthic clown, so making some quad hets. But that female is an animal that I'm sending to a friend of mine on this breeder project, and he's like, well, when are you going to send it? And I was like, after I get eggs.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? And he's like, oh, I see what you're doing. You're trying to just drain the juice. And I'm like, yeah. Make sure it was written perfect. Ask and ye shall receive. But yeah, like I love ball pythons. I literally just posted a blog on my website about like my thoughts on the state of ball pythons right now. And I started off by saying, like, I love ball pythons.
Yeah.
They were like the driving force of my career, for a very long time. And then I worked for frickin' Kevin McCurley. I love ball pythons. Like, let's not get it twisted. But yeah, excitement wise, like the Amazons are just it for me. I also love being able to educate people about an animal or a species that has been shrouded in so much negativity. Just like we were saying before, like to be able to handle an Amazon in front of somebody and have them lose their mind because they didn't think that was possible. That's everything to me. That is freaking everything. So yeah, I love everything about Amazons. I love the fact that, from the business standpoint, the overhead is much smaller. You can still keep them in racks. Cages are of course fun. But like I've built racks with the extra large Cambro tubs.
Yeah.
I absolutely love them, so you can economically, you're not going crazy, in comparison to the ball pythons there, but your food overhead is significantly less.
Yes.
A ball python, I mean, like, I don't know about you, but like for me, I'm spending between $1.50 and $2 per small rat per ball python. Mine. Okay. So, but you've got rodent food prices going up.
Yeah.
And you still have higher expenses in general.
I mean, I've got mine set up to for the most part now where it basically maintains itself. So
That's
what I
perfect.
sell in excess, it covers everything. Plus I still put a little bit of money back in my pocket every month. So I've got it pretty much dialed in. But when
That's
I was
perfect.
buying them, I was spending $1.50, $2 a rodent. And then God forbid, sometimes I was driving 2.5, 3 hours one way just to pick up my supply because supply ebbs and flows. And
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. So then you get an adult Amazon tree boa that, yeah, could eat a rat crawler or a wiener if it's a big female, but like a jumbo mouse
yeah.
that's 85 cents,
Yeah.
like that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like that's awesome. And I can fit a lot more frozen mice in my freezer than I can frozen rats.
Mhm.
So, all things point to Amazon. So like from the business side, which again, like being a business owner, having to pay attention to those things, like that's another thing that just made sense. And I'm like, I'm not necessarily just thinking about profit margins and stuff like that. I'm literally thinking like, what is it costing me just to maintain this? How much money am I putting out? I of course I want to be able to make a profit, but like if I'm struggling, if I'm looking at a snake and being like, well, if I don't sell you after 4 meals, I'm losing money. Like
Yeah. Then
that's
it's a
not
problem.
fun, like that's a problem for sure. So like Amazon's is like, I can be, we're starting off on large pinkies or small fuzzies, 30 cents a piece. I'll hold that onto that snake for a year. I don't care, like, because we're not getting to that point where like, oh man, this is costing me so much. Like it's just challenging to keep up. I don't have to worry about that.
You don't have that problem.
So right. So business wise, even if I had 25 litters, it's still cost wise significantly less. So it just makes sense, like not to focus on money or anything like that, but pivoting
No, but
a whole business, in that way, like the finances do matter,
Yeah.
and have to make sense. Like there's a reason why I didn't go to retics, like, so come
You want
on
to get in
now.
that big old jackrabbit once a month,
Yeah, sheesh. Feeding once a month is great, but then you've got 100 babies from 2 females, and you're like, I need to sell you in 3 months before I need 17 racks. Like, God. And like that's a snake that of course isn't suited for everybody,
Yeah.
so like I don't want to have 25 clutches of retics, where 10% of those offspring are going to go to homes that can actually take care of them. Like an Amazon's a pretty small footprint, like in comparison to a lot of things.
I don't think, I don't know. It's just different with them. It's between them and the ball pythons. It's all different. I don't think people realize that.
Yeah,
Like
100%.
all of it's different.
100%. And that's
even the cost, like you said.
Yeah.
I like too, what drew me in was like what you said, the cost is different, care is different. There's such a small niche. And like you said earlier, you're not chasing after everybody else's pipe dream.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like this is very much something you can get into and be like, hey, I like this and I like this, and we're going to put it together and we're going to take good lines with a history and we're going to see what we get. And we're going to go from there.
100%. 100%. Yeah. And like to also on the business side of things, like, and I think Randy said this before on another podcast, like you don't, it's very rare that you will have so much excess in production that like you've got to post them and be like, hey, I've got these available. Like, sure, certainly you may have that happen from time to time, but because the community is so niche and tight knit, very often we're already communicating amongst ourselves, being like, hey, when you get babies from that, let me know, and then it's like, oh, this snake only had 6 babies and I had 5 people hit me up about babies. I think I'm going to be okay because this last one I'm going to keep, you know. So like it's no
Or you
big
get the
deal.
crazy like me where I hit up Randy and I was like, I hit him up because somebody was selling one of his productions and I didn't realize it was somebody else selling his production. I'm like, hey, what's up with this thing? And he was like, I'm not selling that. He's like, I actually sold that to somebody. I was like, oh, look, now I look like an idiot. So what do you have anyways now that I'm here?
Yep.
You know?
Exactly. Look, I mean, like I remember when I was talking with Randy about getting him one of the Carnage babies, you know, we were like, I was like, hey man, that male freak show that you like, I need something for that. Like, so let's make something like that happen, you know, like just planning it out, being so bad. Darian Sanchez with his male lumen, that yellow calico-y thing. I saw that animal on Satu's website like 2 weeks after it had already sold, and I was so pissed. And I hit them up and I was like, where did this go? And like I was like making posts about it and everything. And then Satu got back to me and like, oh, you know, I went to a local guy and blah blah blah. But they were being very discreet, and I'm like, I need information. And then he hit me up. He's like, yeah, I saw that you had posted about that snake. I actually got that snake. And I was like, I don't care who else is on the waiting list for babies from that animal. You put my name on top. I need to be the first person because chances are I will buy everything that snake produces. So like, just make it happen, buddy. Yeah, exactly. And I was talking to him the other day and I like reiterated. I was like, please keep me posted when those babies hit the ground. He's like, I got dude, I got you. And I was like, all right,
now you're
making
saying
sure.
Recorded, you know, live.
Oh yeah. There
there.
are videos recorded. There are witnesses. Like we all know. So if somebody else gets a baby before me, there's going to be hell to pay. But
Jeremy be tracking you down.
I will.
That was my snake.
Absolutely will. But no, like I mean, like, but that's the I don't get that excited about ball pythons anymore. Like when I was a kid, yeah, you know, like seeing a coral glow clown pied was like, oh my god. I mean, but you know,
there are some pretty ones out there still, but it is a different.
It's like, a different level of excitement.
I could see him posted and be like, "Oh, this one's available," and I'm like,
yep.
I see a story go up. Like Vinny posted the red calico female on the story, and I was like, "How much?"
Yep.
Let me send you my money right now.
Like immediate.
I don't care if somebody else is looking. Did they send you money yet? Because if they didn't send you money yet, I'm sending you all the money.
Exactly. Yeah. No, it's true, man. It's true. Like, yeah. And I love that. Like, also, I love the fact that the community of like the hardcore tree boa people, like it's so tight knit. It's so tight knit and it's so supportive.
Yes.
You know, and that I love. Like, I'll see stuff because Randy shares freaking every Amazon tree boa that gets posted on every platform. So like whenever he posts something on his story, I click it because I'm like, what am I gonna?
Yep.
Yeah, literally, because I'm like, I probably missed this. So what's going on, man? You know, and sometimes he posts shit. I'm just like, who the fuck? Where did that come from? You know. And then I'm sliding into their DMs like, you're breeding that thing? Like, you know, what's going on? But yeah, like,
it's a very like I love that community. Like every community has its like its goods and its bads, obviously.
Of course,
but there was something about the Amazon community. Like as soon as I started like slipping down that slippery slope of Amazons, you know, it's like once I stuck my big toe and it was like whoop, you know.
Yep. Welcome.
But everybody is so freaking supportive. Like
yeah, and it's
I love it.
Yeah, 100%. And it doesn't matter how long they've been in the game either, which is one of the coolest things. Like, you know, I think about almost any other species or niche. Like a lot of times the old heads, like they don't give a crap. Like they're like, I've done this long enough. If you don't know, you don't know. You know, and like I get it. You know, I can certainly understand that to a certain extent. But you know,
the hobby's not going to get anywhere though if you gatekeep.
Right, 100%. And like, you know, like of course, you think about ball pythons. I always pick on ball pythons just because they're the king. They're the king. You know, it is what it is. They're the king of the snakes. You know, but I pick on them also because like I've experienced some of those situations.
Yeah.
You know, where it's just, you know, as a kid being like, hey, like I want to know about blah blah blah, and you know, what do you care? You know, and you're just like, what do you mean? What do you mean? What do I care? Like, I used to laugh about old stories of Kevin vending reptile shows and like having like the first Inferno ball pythons on the table at Daytona and no price, no label. And people are like, you know, what is this? And he's like, well, if you don't know, you can't afford it. And it's just like, well, I mean, no shit, Sherlock. Thanks. I'm just trying to get a little bit of information here. You know,
Thanks
Mr. Hollywood, you know, love you, Kev. But, you know, but I have yet to experience anything like that in the Amazon community. And I think that that's so awesome because it is so welcoming. And even in the Facebook groups, as much as I have a massive disdain towards Facebook groups because everybody wants to sit on a soapbox, but even in the Amazon Facebook groups, you don't see that.
No.
You don't see like somebody gets an import and it's got a bad shed or whatever, you know, like people will tell you like, yeah, dude, you got to fix your humidity. Like they'll be straight up with you, but they're not being assholes, you know, and I appreciate that, you know, and I think it comes from like hey, you're dealing with a snake that, yeah, is a little more nuanced. So there's no time to beat around the bush, you know, especially if you're dealing with an issue, but like also, hey, welcome. Like this is really fun species and we're happy to have you here.
To the dark side.
Exactly. And that but I love that. I really do love that. And I think it would be a great example for even the really popular species that, you know, do have those communities of just being like, hey, guess what? Like, you don't have to be a jerk. It does work. Like get the out of here, dude. Okay. Get the out of here. Mike, I'm going to send you 6 names of ball python guys that would gladly tell you to kick rocks.
It's not even just the old heads in the ball python community. It's the one that just some of them bought their first normal.
You don't have a Habba hut? What the hell is your problem? You need a Habba hut.
You need to slap this little 80-gram hatchling in a 4x2x2 with a waterfall in it with live fish.
You didn't weigh your rodent before you fed it? God.
Oh, the live feeder thing that cracks me up too. That is so inhumane to feed your snake a live feeder. I'm like, oh Jesus Christ, it doesn't eat salad for dinner. Like those are the worst groups. Oh my God. They make for great entertainment sometimes. They're like when you're stuck in traffic and you need some entertainment, you just go to a ball python group.
I can't do that. Yeah, exactly. Habba hut, Mike. That's right. Get your Habba hut. Zoom Ed. I'm calling Gary right now. We're getting Habba huts sent to everybody. But no, I had to remove myself from so many Facebook groups. This is like years ago. Because I would get genuinely upset watching how people were treating each other on like just like hobbyists just asking legitimate simple questions that are new to keeping, and they're looking for research. Like we talk all the time about, oh, you got to do your research, you got to do your research, you got to do research.
Yeah, but nobody wants to help somebody do the research.
Nobody wants to help, but also social media is a massive source of information. It is research to some people. I don't think it's always that great, but it still is a source to get information, you know, and when it's really easy to go on Facebook and type in the guy whose name you saw on the cover of a book that you saw pop up in a Google search and you send them a message, like, are you kidding me? Like, yeah, social media is actually a valid way to conduct some amount of research. So when you just start chewing people out for asking legitimate questions, that's bullshit. You know, Then you get the people with the egos that want to be all tough and big and bad. And I'm like, hey, look, you're 65. I don't care that you've bred ball pythons for 30 years. That 10-year-old down the street also just bred ball pythons. Just because theirs isn't worth 25 grand doesn't mean shit. You should stop talking right now. Like, how about that ego check for you, buddy? Like, it's not that serious. We're not curing cancer, guys. We're breeding snakes. Like,
No,
let's
but it can be toxic. Like when I first
100%.
got into the hobby, I would go in some of those groups and I would ask a question. And I would get messages like, I can't believe you were brave enough to ask that question. I'm like, shit, if somebody wants to troll my ass, I will troll back till the cows come home. Like,
yes,
ding, I will troll you. Like, I don't care if I get kicked from this group. I got 50 more ball python groups I can go and join. Like,
I forgot what group I posted
I actually
in.
got kicked from a couple ball python groups.
Really?
One was because somebody was commenting about the live feeding, and I was like, "Oh, if you can't handle hearing a rat scream, you should hear a hog scream when you go hog hunting and shoot it."
Oof. Oof.
I got booted, and the
Brutal.
feedback was like, "That was not conducive to education."
But it was true.
No, whatever.
No, I think I was asking a question once about like setting up an like turning a fridge into an incubator or something.
Yeah.
And I asked some question about like draining Freon or something like that. Anyway, and somebody came back with a really smart ass somebody tried to be like a serious smart ass, and I clapped back so hard. When I was younger, I had such a terrible temper and didn't care. Like I have a temper now, but
down inside.
100%. And I've gone on some tangents and made some people mad. But you know, like when I was a kid, especially when I was in like my late teens, maybe even early 20s, I'll admit, even my early 20s, I was really lucky to come up under the mentorship, because now everybody's like, I need a mentor. So it's like, I just called a guy and asked him a question. That's not a mentor. It's just somebody who answered a fucking question. But I came up under Kevin and Brian. Like, these were the guys I was lucky enough to meet very early in my career, you know, and I could just pick up the phone. So when somebody would say something to me, I'm like, oh, you can't tell me shit, dude. Like, I'm like, this is who I'm learning from, and blah, blah. Yeah, literally. Exactly. I have plenty of those moments. And made some fun enemies because of it. But at the end of the day, like, I didn't care. And now I'm at the point now where I'm like, I've done this for the majority of my life. I'm not here. I have nothing to prove. I'm not here to prove anything. You know, like, I've kept hundreds of species of reptiles. Like, I'm good. Like, I'm good. I know what I can do. I know what I've done. I'm not here to do that, you know. But get me going on a good day, and woo, doggy, it's gonna be it's gonna be a time for everyone. Like,
so we all just need to wait till you're on a good day, and then send the memo to each other to get you going in like one of the ball python groups. Then
100%. 100%. Ball pythons, corn snakes, carpet pythons. Oh, this is a good one. Here's a mild tangent. So carpet pythons, right? When I first got into carpets, keep them in cages, deck it out, make it all nice, wonderful, these semi-arboreal snakes, whatever. I could not breed carpets in cages for shit. I don't know why. They just never really bred well for me in enclosures. Put them in rack systems. That first year, every female I paired produced. And I was like, cool, racks are the way to go for me. Like, I don't know why. Too late. Racks and carpet pythons went together like PB&J. But it just worked for me. Anyway, so I've done that for years and years and years. I produced, I don't know how many hundreds of carpet pythons that way, whatever. Somebody in a carpet group was like, seeing as how Morelia are a semi-arboreal genus, what do you do in your enclosures to give them enrichment and make sure their brains are being used? And there's all these people who have wonderful comments, and they're showing their enclosures, and they look great. Like, it was a It was a decent thread, and then I started to see some comments like, just if you keep snakes in blank enclosures, you're terrible, you're a piece of shit, and blah blah blah,
You're
all
an
this stuff.
abuser.
Yeah. So I went in there and I was like, I'm here to stir the pot a little bit. I'm feeling frisky. So I was like, for me, enrichment often includes a blank piece of newspaper crumpled up and thrown in the back of the cage. And I took a picture of it and I freaking sent it. It's like a big, like 9-foot coastal carpet in a rack with a crumpled up piece of paper about the size of a tennis ball. And people lost their ever loving minds. And I was like, we need to understand the definition of enrichment. We're talking about providing something in the enclosure that is getting the animal to use its brain. It doesn't matter if it's a freaking stick or a plushie. Like something new in the enclosure to get this to work. That
You want to
piece
hit a million
of
views?
newspaper,
Repost that on TikTok.
100%. I'll do it every day. I will do it every freaking day. I got into it once on a TikTok live. Somebody talking about racks are bad because the heat from the heat tape makes the tubs degas. So it was a toxic thing. I was like, if that's the case, there should be about 300 people with severe forms of cancer right now because the amount of rack systems that surround them all the time. I'm not even talking about the snakes.
Argument plastic, and they're like, you have them in a plastic box. They shouldn't be in plastic. What the fuck is PVC?
Yeah.
Now, I asked somebody that. I said, if I shouldn't keep them in a plastic box in a rack, but I should keep them in a PVC enclosure, what do you think PVC is?
Yeah, but that PVC's got a window. It's got a window that's also made out of acrylic.
I'm like, do you hear your argument right now?
Yeah.
Are you reading what you're writing? Like,
no, it makes no sense. No sense. So I loved like just lighting people up in that comment section because I was like, guys, I get it. I understand what you're saying, but we're getting too serious about this. Like, I can take my snake outside and let it get enrichment. I don't even need to take it outside.
Throw a mail in.
Yeah, literally. Hey, guess what? Here's a pencil. Figure this one out. Like, it's not. We're talking about getting the snake to use its brain. Now, physical enrichment. If we want to argue, like, okay, you're talking about a semi-arboreal snake. What are you doing to provide something where it's using its muscles and it's not just becoming a flobby, whatever? That's something I can get behind. And even in the racks, like I kept them in like FB90 racks and stuff, so there's a bit of height. I'm going to go out and I'm going to get a giant like half rack. I'm going to get a giant Habahut, Mike. I'm getting giant friggin' Habahuts. I'm going to get a cork round, cut it in half so it makes a half round, but it's like 16 to 20 inches wide and it's probably like 18 inches across, and I'm going to throw that in there. So now we've got it like it's got something it's got crevices and it can like maneuver its body a little bit differently and kind of force itself to use some muscles. So that's an argument that I can be like, okay, well, now we're not so much talking about enrichment, mental enrichment. We're talking about making sure that the animal is as healthy as it can be, physically. I'm all for that. Not every rack needs to be just a tub with some paper and a water bowl. Like, you can certainly spruce it up a little bit. I'm all for it. But we get buzzwords and buzz topics in this industry that drive me nuts. Oh, that's my partner. Hi, babe.
Hi.
But yeah, when we get into that, that's like when I freaking lose it. Like, I'm just like, guys, let's
Randy wants to know
what is a Habahut? Dude, it's a Zoomed classic, bro. It's literally a log. Here, I'm going to show you. It's a log that's cut in half and then hollowed out, and your snakes use it as a hide box. And it's really cool. You got those little PVC things and plastic, whatever, with a hole drilled in it. Nah, dude, naturalistic or bust. Get a log, hollow it out, cut it in half, put it in there. Fucking Habahut.
My egg box for my green trees. It's like a log with a hollow, like,
Yep, exactly.
Opening for
Freaking
it, you know?
Habahut, bro. Get hip, dude. You clearly didn't keep enough ball pythons as a kid. Holy crap.
I'm gonna have to order one now and like set it up with one of my Amazon enclosures.
Dude,
He had a ton of those things, but did not know they were
Yeah,
called.
okay. Good try to backtrack, buddy. Good try to backtrack, because when you got one, it was literally, it had a giant label on it that said Habahut by Zoomed, and it was stapled into the fucking log. So you had to sit there with staple removers so that it didn't
To pull the
rust.
staples out.
Now pull those staples out so they didn't. So you knew what the hell they were called. It was a
They
fucking
still
Habahut.
staple. Listen, they still staple the tag on
Still
with the
do.
big old like industrial grade staples. Like you need a damn flathead screwdriver to get them out of there. You're sitting there jimmying them.
Literally had a flathead screwdriver on the side of my cages specifically for that.
Because you can't just get a stapler remover in that bad boy. Sometimes you need a mallet too to get it up in there, chisel it in there.
when the person, whoever was in charge of stapling that day, Zoomed, was really on their shit and made sure it was pressed down as hard as possible.
Yeah,
and you're like, God dang it, what get stapled, don't want it to rust.
It takes so much effort to get it out of there that the staple goes flying when it finally
Habahut's cracked now, like it's just no good. It's fucking terrible.
No offense, Zoomed. We love your stuff.
No,
Thanks.
absolutely love it. Those I absolutely love Habahuts. I think they're one of the greatest things we've ever done, because it's so basic but so naturalistic and perfect.
Yeah, it works.
No qualms. All I'll say is just drill a little hole in the side and put a little twist tie
or
thing.
do a smaller staple or something.
Yeah, but I mean, just what you do with the manzanita wood.
They actually work well, like to turn them sideways. Like if you have a shelf that only takes up half the enclosure and you want to kind of hide off the shelf, if you turn it vertical up on its side, then it looks like a tree trunk kind of set up and kind of hides the sharp side of your platform for your Amazons.
Look at that. Habahuts coming back.
You can send me a few,
Perfect. Yeah, perfect.
I'll DM you my address because I got a few more enclosures I'm going to have to build out eventually.
Oh man, that's great.
Oh my God.
I love that we've just been yelling about Habahuts. That's wonderful.
Well, before we wrap up,
yes.
What is one piece of advice you wish people could hear getting into the hobby, getting into Amazons, whatever it may be?
I think getting into the hobby, my biggest piece of advice is you don't have to follow the trends. You don't have to. No, bro. You don't.
No.
You don't even husbandry.
Sorry,
Absolutely.
Mike.
It's true. You can't, bro. I'm expecting a new reel on your page that is you opening up ball python bins with Habahuts. And they make them in all different sizes. So I want to see them in baby bins and I want to see them in adult bins. And it doesn't matter if that adult Habahut is $50 now because of inflation. I want to see that video, dude.
We want the video of you pulling the staples out too.
Yeah.
That's the best part. Make sure you record it.
I'm going to get Zoomed to send you a Habahut, bro.
You have to do the staples.
And I'm going to make sure it's stapled well so you get the full experience. I'm going to take, you ever gotten, yeah, that's right. It's probably 85 because the tariffs. Exactly. I'm going to, you ever get a box from Rodent Pro? And they got those giant furniture staples.
Oh my God, they got some big staples in those too.
I'm gonna make sure that's what they do on the Habahut that they send you, bro. You're gonna be struggling for a while.
But you got to record it all, and don't speed it up when you post it either.
No,
and don't do a music overlay. We want to hear the curse words come out of your mouth.
I want to hear it.
We We want the full experience.
Oh,
No
man.
shortchanging any of it.
Oh, that's too good. But jeez, man. But yes, advice for people wanting to get into the hobby right now. You don't have to follow the trends, and it's okay to get a species and realize that that species is not for you. I feel like we kind of get into the space of like, oh, well, I got a ball python because like that's what everybody gets. Like, it's okay to not do that. And if you can, along your road of research, see if there's a reptile show near you, or see if there's a breeder or a pet shop near you where you can go and maybe handle something or get some experience. So before you take that step into owning a reptile, you have some kind of knowledge foundation that's going to help inform you make that decision. Because of course, regardless of what you keep, you want to have the best experience possible. So, and that dies very quickly when you're dealing with a species that you realize you don't vibe with. Advice for people getting into Amazons. Yes, it's awesome when you see something at a show for $50. It's even more awesome when you save up some pennies and you get a captive bred animal. And captive bred animals are not crazy expensive. There's some really great animals from Tropical Natives. I want to Michael Drake, I think is his name. That has some great captive bred animals, some captive bred gardens and stuff that are just a couple $100. So it's not far off from what your first ball python might be. It's in that price range. I guarantee you will have a much better experience first getting into Amazons if you take that time and work on getting captive bred animals. I know Ian at S&J Reptiles has some great ones available too right now. So like do a little bit of research, find the people that are working with them, and just don't talk to Darian from Dare to Rise, because I've got dibs on all those babies. From that one male, you can't have any of those babies. But no, that's my big piece of advice. Having worked with imports a lot, from my perspective, the imports are not too terrible to establish, but that's coming from having a solid understanding of dealing with imports as it is. So take the time, spend a little bit of extra money to get a captive bred animal. It will do you wonders, and you're going to have a better experience with that animal overall.
I like it. That's good advice, Jeremy.
Yeah.
And
get a Habahut.
And you have no idea where it's coming from. Test it.
Yes. What am I testing it for? I don't know. Everything. Test it for Habahuts. That thing better have had a Habahut in its life.
Oh man, we're gonna have to get Mike a Habahut.
Dude, I'm serious. I'm gonna call one of my old sales rep buddies and be like, Mike, I'm gonna ask you for your address. We're gonna get you a freaking Habahut. I'm serious. I am so serious. Matter of fact, Mike, you got to still be here before this ends. What's the next expo you're going to be at that I'm going to be, like Daytona, Tinley? I'll make sure they bring an extra Habahut and we'll record you live
right there. Yes.
Getting the screws or getting the staples out.
You let us know, because if it's out of state, I will fly to witness that firsthand. I will be front and center watching. I'll bring you a pink screwdriver. I got you. Oh, he'll be at Sear in August.
See, what the hell is that?
Southeast Reptile Expo in Georgia.
At
it's
Bob's
the weekend
show
before Daytona.
Yes, that's right. I won't be there. I'll be away, but I'll be at Daytona. So you should be at Daytona.
Well, he might have to do it twice, but then he'll get practice. But he'll get practice then, so he'll be better.
That's okay. That's okay, because he won't be much better. It won't be much better. It takes a good 10 before you're finally like, all right, if I get it at this angle.
Before you get it down to a fine science.
Daytona 2. Okay, perfect. I'm going to call Eric from ZoomEd. I'm going to make sure they bring an extra Habahut with the label and everything.
You're doing your podcast live.
Oh man.
Oh my god, that's great.
Amazing.
Well, we're gonna wrap it up for the night. I'm gonna throw you backstage and
Perfect.
say thank you to everybody, and I'll join you in a second. Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you so much, Jeremy.
No problem. Thanks, Jen.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to the 30th episode. It was a lot of fun tonight. Had a blast. So glad Jeremy could join us. And thank you to everybody in the comments section. If you're part of the replay gang, don't forget to hit hashtag replay gang on the comments section. Leave your feedback, likes, etc. And then don't forget to catch all of our other amazing shows on the Herp Collector Network. Without further ado, have a great night, and thank you so much for joining.
Condo, corner where we rise and grow. Twist and turn, let the passion flow. Condo, corner watch the future shine. Every scale a story, one of a kind.
From the shadows we move, striking out bright. In every twist we find the light. Breeding the best, gotta have patience in this game. Chondro Corner, where we make our name. Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner, Chondro Corner. Chondro Corner, where we rise and grow. Twist and turn, let the passion flow.